Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe of Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Azure from Bitewing Games. Azure is a tactical two-player abstract game designed by Trevor Benjamin and Brett Gilbert, in which players are going to be playing cards in order to place their stones onto this board in order to gain the favor of their various beasts, but ultimately in order to be the first to get to 25 on this track, which granted is a lot of things I just said, but we'll get to all of that shortly. First of all, though, I will say this is a prototype, all rules and components have to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. But with that said, players are going to start off with a hand of 3 cards. You can take a card and you can play that card, using those cards to pay for the various boons in order to place a piece, which again is a lot, but let's just walk you through a turn. I'm going to look around on this board over here and I'm going to find a spot where I can place something. For example, right now maybe this spot I'd love to, but I can't quite afford to yet. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a card. I'm going to play a card, this blue card over here, in order to place one of my stones onto the blue board. So that's what I'm doing. I place a card to put the stone onto the blue board. Now the cost of that was 1. The reason for that is you'll see there's 3 kinds of symbols on these boards. These little serpent symbols over here, those do not have to do with the cost. Then there's the cards themselves, and then there's little small circles which represent the various boons you can get. In this case, by placing it over here, that 1 card means it's a boon cost of 1. This over here would be a boon cost of 2, 1 card and 1 circle. This has 6 circles, or a boon cost of 6. This has 2 circles and a card, a boon cost of 3. Basically, you add the symbols except for those little circle serpents over there. So I played 1 blue to place it down on a blue spot, and then I'm going to draw a card from there. I'm going to look at the specific card over here. That's going to be one of these cards. I'm going to draw that into my hand because that is the boon that I got. The boons represent the cost, but they also represent that you get something out of it. That's my first turn. Why did I do that? We'll show you soon. We're going to have the other player take a turn as well. They might want to get in the way a little bit, although you have to figure out what it is they're trying to do. I think right now we're going to play this card over here in order to place this token over here on that spot. And again, they're going to go ahead and draw a replacement card. They draw a blue card to their hand. That's going to be the first turn. Now the next rule you need to know is that whenever you have stones on the board, they reduce the cost of things in their row and column. So for example, this spot over here only cost me 1, even though there's 2 boons, it only cost me 1. Unfortunately, I no longer have any blue cards, so I can't play there. What I can do is I could play over here if I want, or I could play over here. In fact, I think I'm going to play over here. This has a cost of 1, but because of the fact that I have something in the row or column, I can immediately place it up for free because it's reduced by 1, and I'll draw a card into my hand matching the boon. But another thing is also going to happen here, which is where these beasts come into play, because the goal of the game is to be the first to get to 25 on this chart over here, on this wisdom track. But you gain the wisdom from those circles, meaning the boons you get are going to be either wisdom on this track for each circle. So for example, if you paid the 6 to go here, you would get 6 wisdom on this track, bumping yourself all the way up right away. Or alternatively, you get card draw, which lets you place out more things, which is super important, by the way, because if you ever can't play something, you immediately lose. I haven't had that happen yet in my games, but I guess theoretically, if you don't plan around it, it can happen. But the other thing is going to be these beasts. Each of these beasts has a way you get them, and the way you get them is being the first person to at least get 2 things towards those beasts, at which point you get it initially, and then players can get more than you in order to get that. So what does that mean over here? This beast over here, this beast is going to reward us, is going to give us this beast by being on these serpent spots. That's what the serpent spots are. I'm the first player with 2 stones on serpents, so I will immediately take this beast and get the benefit. Specifically, I'm going to take one of my stones, putting it on here, and this counts for the row and column. I basically got an extra stone on the board. That's all that that beast gave me. I'll walk you through what the other beasts do as we get to it, but that was my second turn. This player over here, they're trying to think through what they do over here. They do have these over here. They want to get in on this beast as fast as possible before I ruin it for them. So what they're going to go ahead and do is they're going to place these 2 over here. They're going to pay 2 in order to go on this spot. The reason they're going on this spot is the reduction of the cost will be 1. So they're going to pay 3 minus 1 or 2, paying 2 blue. They're going to put a stone out over there. They're going to go 1 up on the wisdom track, and they're going to draw 2 red cards. And then the important bit is the way you get the white beast is you have to have 2 in its row or column in order to go ahead and get the white beast, which means right now they have 2, and they're going to take this, immediately getting 2 on the wisdom track. That's what the white beast does. If the white beast is ever taken from them, they will lose it, and they'll also lose 2 on that wisdom track. Back to my turn over here. I have my hand of cards. I'm trying to think through what to do. The way you get the blue beast is by having 2 in its row and column, but I haven't worked my way there at all. The way you get the red beast over here is by having 2 in the red box, which that I can do. In fact, I can go over here and pay nothing nothing for it, which I think I'll do, moving 1 up on the wisdom track over there. Actually, that's not me over here. In fact, I moved the wrong player over there. I should be over there. And then we'll have 1 card that I'll draw into my hand, and I got that for free, which sets me up to potentially start getting towards a hand where I can do things like getting those 4 things right away. Or in fact, this spot over here will only cost me 1 blue, and it'll give me 4 wisdom. That's also going to give me this beast, which lets me draw 2 cards from this deck. The center deck over here is going to be variable. There's 3 from each color shuffled into there, and that's going to be how that works. We'll go back to their turn over here, and they're going to try to get their hands on the blue beast, and then we'll show you how things play out. Over here right now, the row or column, they have nothing they can do, but it is worth getting early, because they could do this one over here. They could try to go here, but again, there's no discounts for those. They might try to go, let's see. If we go here, we are working towards fighting on this. So you know what? We're going to go over here. I'm going to pay 2. It's a little bit more expensive than I want because I have nothing set up there. Because even though I have 1 in the column, these various pillars over here, they block those rows. So I don't get that discount because there's something in between it. I'll pay those 2, and I'll get 1 card as well as 1 point. But now I also get this, which is going to give me 3 more points. So I'm trying to rapidly work my way up towards that wisdom by gaining control of the right beasts. This is basically how a game of Azure will play out. You're charting out your moves as you go, trying to think through what sequence of moves is going to get you what you need. Should you ever get more than a player in a thing, so for example, if I went ahead and placed these over here, I would now have more, because I have 1, 2, 3 on those serpent spaces, and then control of this spot would shift to me, and that would affect things. And yes, by the way, if these are in the same row as the white or the white or the blue beast, then it also counts towards control of those. You are ultimately trying to work your way towards playing the right cards to be able to sync across the board, gaining cards to be able to fund your next move, and gaining wisdom to ultimately win the game. That is how you play through a game of Azure. There's going to be a few modules you can play as. First of all, there's going to be these cards over here. These come with special stones for each player, and each of these cards, you only use 1 per game, but they give you a way to spend your special stone. For example, favorite over here is your gifted piece. When you play it, breaks ties, meaning if I play this on my 2nd serpent spot, I can say, look at that, I broke the tie, I get it, you can't get it back. That can be particularly important when you only have the last piece as a tie placer, which can happen with the serpents. There's only 8 serpent spots in the game. If you have 4 and I get 4, if I place it on my 4th one, you can't ever get it back because I broke a tie with this. This can be an incredibly important card, and again, there's 4 of them, each giving the players a way to use their favorite piece depending on the rule change you have. And then a bigger module you have is going to be the separate sideboard over here. I'm not going to fully show you this, but I will say is you basically replace these boards. What you do is replace the boards, you put them on opposite ends over here. So let's pretend you have it like this right now, and we'll remove this. We place out this board over here, and then we'll shuffle this around. You basically have a few modifications to the way this board setup is. We're going to take this, put it down over here, and then we're going to have this over here. So you kind of have a larger board section with, you have these 4x4 spots at cross edges, and these give you new spots which represent a bit of a tug of war on this board, ways to earn cards or wisdom as you cross certain lines, as well as to have an instant game end condition if you work your way all towards the end. It gives you a very different way you play things out, adding a full tug of war dynamic, and I'll get more to it when I get into my thoughts, which is right about now. Now's a good time to dive into my review of this game, what I like, don't like, and see others not liking, starting off with what I like, and I will be touching upon the expansions because I've played those as well. But starting off with what I like over here, the tactical placement in this game is everything. The rules are incredibly simple. You can get someone up and running on this in like a few moves, and I recommend just kind of going through a few moves and resetting and starting again. You'll have a quick idea of how to actually play through this, what it is you're trying to do as you try to get control of all the various spots on the board. But it's all about trying to plan through a sequence. How am I going to work my way towards what I want? How am I going to pivot as you get in my way? How am I working towards not just this current thing, but setting myself up for a cascading series of discounts or the beasts or getting everything you need? Tactical placement is everything in this game, and the variable board setup is a lot as well. A simple move that switches this from this to this totally changes the way the board has to be played, so you have to be very mindful of the lines of sight, of the gaps. This row over here cut off in different ways totally changes the battlefield as you play through this, and so the variable board placement, including expansions before we even get there though, even just the mixing and matching of the way the boards are set up is a lot and changes the way you engage with the game. The mini expansions add a ton to the game. I love this, I think I would never play without them outside of teaching the game to players. These favorite pieces over here are just an easy addition to the game that just really just adds a layer of strategy with a single piece. It's surprising how much the game changes knowing that one single time in the game you have this rule breaker, and I like all of these. I played through all of these so far. They're all fun in different ways. I thoroughly recommend incorporating them as soon as you get to your second game of this. And then these whole boards over here, I don't know if it's tough because I like the simple board as well, but I really like like what these add. Having these spots that represent that tug of war on the sideboard really adds a fun level of strategy. If you're someone who's familiar with Seven Wonders Duel, it'll feel that tension as you work through it. You're not just working your way towards the points, but now there's something else to be mindful of, and you really have to be mindful of both. And so the mini expansions are an excellent addition to the game. The Tug of War God is so satisfying. Tug of War Beast is so satisfying to play through. And so what you have here is you have a game that's incredibly simple to teach, very engaging, a lot of strategic back and forth as you try to plan around what to do and how to get in the way of your opponent while furthering your own goals, and overall it's a very satisfying experience. As far as what I don't like in the game, there's nothing that I don't like yet, but there is a concern, which I am a little concerned that it might come down to a almost programmed sequence of moves. Meaning this is one of those games where, and I'm not there yet, this is a tentative concern based on my plays so far, but I do wonder if it could get to a point where it kind of comes down to those first 3 to 4 moves, and then after that, you're kind of just reacting to a naturally cascading effect. This game is so clean that because of that, I worry there's almost a sequential back and forth that could develop. I'm not confident it is. This is more of a worry, like, okay, great, I really enjoy it right now. Is that going to hold up down the road? If I'm 20 plays in, if I'm 30 plays in, does that hold up? Or do I feel like I've played through what the game has to give me? So it's not something I don't like. It is a concern based on my plays so far. As far as I can see others not liking, it's hard to come back once you're losing. And that does change a little bit with the Tug of War. I will say that. Tug of War Beast adds another element because you could be losing in one area, but as long as you're able to force the battle here, you have a little bit more tools at your disposal. But the base game, if you get to a point where you're far enough behind, you're probably losing the game, and it can be self-evident. The good news is games only last 15 to 20 minutes, so it's not too big a deal, but it can be hard to come back once you're losing, and it's very much an abstract game. Like, if you don't like abstracts, this is about as abstract as you can get. There's some, I guess, based on theme, but it's all about placing your pieces down, using the cards for your economy. There's nothing else going on past that. As far as final thoughts on Azure, I really like it. I said so already, but I really like this game. This is one of those, like, I kind of read the rules and expected to like it, and then I played it, and I liked it more than I thought I would, and then I added the expansions, and I liked it even more than I thought I would. This is one of those games where I almost instinctively want to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 for right now. I do find that sometimes games like this, that initial excitement, that first 4 or 5 plays, can be more exciting, more fun, and it could... The variability of this game engine does mean that I worry that I'm still in that initial high and that it should trail off a bit. So I am giving it a 4 out of 5. I could see that potentially dropping further as I play through it more, but I could also see it going higher or staying level. I'm just trying to be a little bit conservative with the rating on this. My, again, initial plays, I like this a lot, but it's a little too clean that those things I find for me tend to settle a little bit, so I'm going to come in at a 4 out of 5. I am having a lot of fun with this one and definitely recommend it. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Tsar if you're looking for a very clean abstract that has some degrees of similarity into the feeling of the tactical placement of how to get in each other's way. And then also check out Hey That's My Fish if you're looking for a very mean game of setting up every single move as you work with the variable board strategies. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.